Good morning, Geauga County, Lake County, all of northeastern Ohio, all of the world that can stream live. I have a spouse that's out of town right now, and I think she's streaming from Florida. And so, good morning, dear. Wake up, get your coffee. For everybody else that's out and about, and I know you're listening, um, because I'm being told that by very all kinds of people that I'm going around the county. And a shout out to the sheriff's department. I know there's a bunch of deputies driving around in the car this morning. They've had their coffee. They're kind of watching, keeping us safe, and they're listening to the program at the same time. Good
Yep.
morning, good morning,
Special
guys.
shout out to law enforcement.
Yep, law enforcement and all the fire departments that are in Geauga County that could be listening to our program this morning.
Yep.
You could be live streaming to your TVs and actually watching us on Rumble, Facebook, or YouTube. We're up and running on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube this morning. And so, and a special shout out to Red EFT. If you want to get your trees taken care of, you want to reach out to an arborist, not a tree guy, an arborist. And you can contact Andrew at 440-850-4968. That's 440-850-4968. And he can come take care of your various fauna that happen to be out there. I do have a trivia thing that I'm going to announce to or tell people about this morning. I find this fascinating. Even in my 70s, I learn things every day. Um, and so I've got a piece of trivia I'm going to offer you. But I also wanted to shout out to the VFW, who also supports this program out of Chardon and Middlefield and the American Legion, both outstanding organizations. I suggest you stop in, buy a veteran a beer or have a beer with a veteran and hear some war stories because a lot of the guys I know have very interesting stories to tell you. The military is an outstanding experience. It changed my life. Personally, I would have gone in a whole different direction, and it changed it in a positive way. And so I'm happy I was drafted. We did away with the draft, unfortunately, and so there's some kids that aren't going to have that experience. But with that said, I've got Jonathan Broadbent with me this morning. Good morning,
Good
Jonathan.
morning, everyone.
And just a piece of trivia. I was watching a show the other night, and it's a kind of a weird science fiction show um, called what is it? The Alien Nation. And
Hmm.
on that show, somebody was, I think that was the show, maybe it was another one. Somebody was tied up, and they managed to get away after being tied up. And they told the captor that they got to watch the bite that they put in the rope. And so I had to look up what a bite is. And for those of you, if you're ever in a situation where being kept hostage and somebody's going to tie you up, you want to create a bite in the rope. And what that means is that's a bend. And so when somebody's tying you up, you create a little bend in the rope and you tuck that away in your hand. That creates slack. So they can tie your hands as tight as they want to and feel like you're secure, but you have that little loop in your hand that's called a bite. And then when they're gone, you release that bite. The rope all loosens up because you have the slack that you created in your hand. And I find that fascinating. I thought that was all fiction, and then I looked it up, and in fact, that's what Houdini used to use when he was escaping from the rope tricks. He'd have people tie him up. He created a bite in the rope. So there you go.
Interesting. So it's called a bite.
It's called a bite. It's spelled
Huh.
Bight, sometimes Bite. And so, for those of you who listen to this program, I wanted to deliver extra value to you. We talk about all kinds of things, and everybody says, "Oh, you're all politics." Not really, but I just wanted to make sure everybody got a little extra value this morning and learned a little something. Now everybody knows about a bite. Go look it up, and you too can go out and perform like Houdini and show
Yeah.
people how you can
Escape.
escape. Yeah,
Escape
I'm
artist.
sure it requires a little practice, but who knows with the crazy world that we're living in today, where you might just have a need for that particular skill set. So anyway, um, Jonathan and I were bantering about various topics. By the way, if you're listening to this program or you're on Rumble, I see our Rumble crew is showing up. They're all telling us good morning. It's kind of nice. It's like a family. People on Facebook
Yeah.
and YouTube and Rumble are. are sending us messages this morning. And so you can give us ideas, by the way. If there's something that you're just dying to talk about or dying for us to talk about or research, because we always try to do our homework on topics, you know, reach out to us and let us know that you'd like to talk about something special. You know, we focus pretty much on Geauga County. Much of what happens in Geauga County crosses over into Lake County. Our health department is currently run by Lake County, and our transit is run by Lake County. And one of these days, I'm going to do a special story on those two entities. Transit is a hot topic for me. I want to go out and ride around on the transit, which I see all these empty buses, and do a film uh, of all of that, so people can see how effective
A documentary
of the
air
transit.
movement.
Yeah, of the movie.
Effectively, I've seen many buses just sort of roaring around all over Lake County that are empty or mostly empty. What a colossal lost opportunity to save money.
Uh, uh,
The amount of
yep.
money that goes into running those buses all day, every day, and it's mystifying to me. I keep asking in that context and ones like it, where are all the greenie meanies, all those environmentalists who have just gotten militant over the past 10 or so years? They seem to disappear when there are issues like that. I mean, you could cut way back on energy use and the consumption. There are some of them that are arguing, well, now they're using clean natural gas. They're CNG buses. Well, some of them are, but that's still energy use. That's natural gas that has to be drilled for and refined and then pumped and shipped. And then it goes into those buses so that the buses can drive up and down all over Lake County streets, moving for the most part, nobody. And you could have movement on demand. And Skip has spoken on that before on the Voice of Geauga. But part of the reason for bringing this up and drilling that down a little bit is because there's indication that in having sold out our transportation department and to sort of given it to Lake County, and same thing with our health department, that their mandates and their goofy way of doing things are intended to be installed in Geauga County too. So what would you do if just a few years from now there's some fleet of giant buses roaring up and down all the streets all over Geauga County, moving effectively almost nobody? I think it's possible. I think it's probably likely that that's part of what the objective is. And I know people the next question everybody has is why would they do that? Well, once you start looking at the amount of money that flows through organizations like that and the number of people that can get high salaried jobs, they can get big jobs in organizations like that, you start to understand why government bloat continues to happen. They keep adding more and more and more of these supposed gravy train jobs where you get lots of people making big six-figure incomes for their 10 hours a year that they put in, and they get given to family members and as political favors and all that, and eventually you get to the point where we are now, where everybody's taxed to the hilt. We're one of the most taxed states in the nation with very little quality service and derelict institutions throughout Ohio. Skip, if you'll give me a minute, I want to keep the floor for a moment here and make a couple of statements. One is our one time guest on this show, um, Faith Andrews. Faith is known in Lake County and in this region as the Truth Badger. Unfortunately, we've learned that Faith lost her mom yesterday. Our thoughts and prayers with the family and the siblings, and may Faith's mom rest in peace. There's also a statement that's been provided to Voice of Geauga from this is Douglas Lundblad, Sergeant Major, U.S. Army, retired. Sergeant Lundblad, excuse me, I mispronounced it. Sergeant Lundblad issued a statement. It's a very nice statement that's been published a few different places and was sent specifically to Voice of Geauga. It's a bit long to read the entire statement, but I'll paraphrase and tell you where to go and find the entire statement. You'll see it posted in various places, including on Steve Olowich's Facebook page. It begins, I would like to share my perspective on Steve Olowich, who is currently seeking election as Geauga County Commissioner. I have known Steve for the past 12 years, and during that time, I've come to know him not only as a public servant, but also as a man of character, integrity, and genuine concern for others. It goes on from there, and then in the concluding paragraph, I'm just selecting a few comments from this. As someone who has served 27 years in the Army and retired as a sergeant major, and who recently completed a 5-year term as a Geauga County Veterans Service Commissioner, I place great value on the leadership, integrity, and service. These are qualities I have consistently seen in Steve. So you may want to go and find that statement. It's a very complimentary statement that speaks specifically to his interactions with candidate Steve Olowich, his professionalism and integrity, and his intention to serve Geauga well. And that again is from Douglas Lundblad. Douglas, thank you for the submission. I'll turn it back over to you, Skip.
Yeah, we are coming up on a break. So Jonathan kept the floor, wasn't paying attention to the clock. So I'm going to take us into the break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to welcome Stu back to the program. Stu sent us a message, which we probably ought to address when we come back from the break. So as always, we'll be talking to our social media crowd while we're in the break. The radio crowd won't get an opportunity to listen to all the banter going on in the break. So with that said, we'll talk to you on the other side of the break. Jonathan, you may want to take a look at Facebook.
Mics are off.
You might want to take a look at Facebook and a comment that Stu put out there. Good morning, Stu. Welcome to the program.
Well, that's your buddy. I can't see those unless if I go through a couple of steps here, I may be able to refresh and then rejoin the video. And frustratingly, that restarts the audio on that. Wow, so Stu has some major TDS, apparently. So Stu seems like an unhinged sort of person, and I'm not comfortable with the notion of hosting him on this show. I know you proposed that because you've got some sort of weird liking for your mole that you've or not mole, but somebody hounding you on social media that you've picked up. But with a post like that calling for people's death, and this just fits right in line with what we know now about people who've embraced current leftism. They are a blood cult. They seem to celebrate blood and death and violence, and I want no part of it. I'm much more peaceful. I'd like to debate people and be friendly and interact and cordial with everybody of every perspective. But in an environment where you've got a growing roster of insaniacs who are just constantly just like barbarians at the gate screaming for blood and celebrating public executions and murders, and that's just an unhealthy sort of environment. I want nothing to do with it.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga on WINT Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM. Don't forget you can join the conversation at 440-946-9468, and we are live on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. That's your cue to either go there and find us, or if you're already there, don't forget to click that like and follow button. I now am fully up and running and can see our show's countdown timer for the remaining 2 breaks for this segment. Thank you for that, Skip, taking us appropriately into our first of 3 breaks. So we have a guest, a returning guest tomorrow. Mark your calendars and spread the good word that we have Nikki Frenchkin coming back on Voice of Geauga tomorrow. And boy, has she caused a stir. I'm going to paraphrase one of the things that's happened in her campaign. And, you know, politics can get heated and people get excited about stuff and people attack each other. And that's just, I guess it's just par for the course in its nature, the nature of politics. But apparently, when she announced that she was going to run, and she is a firebrand, she announced that she was going to run and she is opposing Dave Joyce. She apparently, at some point in the past, went to a beach somewhere in the world where it is apparently it's a nude beach.
St. Martin's. It's
And
a French island. You know
thank
how the
you.
French are.
Yep.
They
Well,
run
that's a
around
good
nude
point.
all over the place. You know, it's the
It
French.
seemed to, they do have a stereotype for that. So there's a nude beach, and apparently Miss Frenchco, very legally, perfectly legally, and doing what everybody else was doing at the beach, was there nude. Um, I personally, I don't think that that should be any big deal, and I don't think that should be anywhere near the topic of competence for a public office, an elected role. But lo and behold, it's politics, and her opponent brought it up and made some sort of big deal about it because having been on a beach nude somehow makes her disqualified. That's a head scratcher right there. But she did something pretty clever. Rather than hide from it or make excuses, she sort of leaned into it and said, "Whatever. What's the big deal? Who cares?" The issue here is the role of that elected office. And so she created a web page to expose the issues as she sees them with her opponent. She created a web page to expose the problems with Dave Joyce. And it is called Only Frenchco, which is a little bit of a play on words, and it's a play on an existing website, and it plays directly into that whole thing of like, what were you doing nude on the beach? Oh my heavens, me, oh my, you were nude on this beach. I think personally it was a pretty smart and pretty savvy political move because she took what she was given and flipped it and just used it back against her opponent. Well, then apparently a whole bunch of people got confused and thought that it was a that she was involved in some sort of pornographic website or something. That is not the case. So tomorrow, she has actually contacted us and asked to be back on the air so that we can go through what's actually on the website. So the reveal, the dramatic exposure is not nudity, it is the exposure, in her words, in her view, of her opponent, Dave Joyce. So that's something to drill through. Let's take a look at what's happening in that office. It's important for us to know the qualities and characteristics of both people in any and all races. And I'm just going to get on the soapbox for just a moment here. This has come up recently, and a few days ago, it came up specifically in the context of Lake County. And Skip, you saw it with League of Women Voters. It is important, it's fundamentally important for we, the people, to have access to and exposure to the candidates that are seeking elected office who might represent us. We must, it's incumbent upon us to ask questions, drill down, and find answers to things. And then a connected piece, which I think we may get into later in the show, is accountability. Once they're in office, what are we doing to hold them accountable for the promises that they make and the platform that they present during their campaign? So that is going to be the Nikki Frenchco component of that conversation is going to be tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Returning guest, Nikki Frenchco. Back to you, Skip.
Yeah, and let me just make one comment on that, and then I want to talk about something a little different. But Nikki reached out to us originally because she's campaigning and she wants people to know where she stands and know what she thinks and give people an opportunity to ask her questions and so forth. And she's all over the place. She goes to all kinds of meetings, even the Republican meetings that she's not welcome in. She puts herself out there, and I think that demonstrates a lot of commitment and conviction. And I have no grievance against Dave Joyce. I can sit down and have a beer with him. I know him relatively well. But Dave has never reached out to this program. I reached out to his office, invited him on this program, and he only seems to want to go to friendly gatherings to talk to people. So Dave, you know, the election's shortly, but you're always welcome on this program. I don't know why Dave is not willing. He didn't go to the League of Women Voters candidate forum. He didn't go to the GOP candidate forum. He's not going to where his constituents are, and that to me sends a message, about caring really about the voters. And so I don't get it, to be honest with you. But setting that aside, I want to address something. We have our buddy Stu back on, and good morning, Stu. And Stu is trying to be, trying to stimulate some emotion, and so he put 8647 into the to a text message. We know that we're going to have a former uh, official in the government indicted for doing something very similar. So Stu, be very careful. But what I'm curious about, and this is the reason, Jonathan, I'd love to have Stu or people like Stu on the program, is I don't understand where that's coming from. I mean, that message is sent to stimulate emotion or to, put try to create issues. As you said, the left is constantly just screaming names, and rather than try to talk about issues and the core differences that we have at an intellectual level, um, people like Stu just seem to throw bombs and try to create a lot of emotion on one side or another. And we saw what that led to here recently with an individual that was attempting to kill a bunch of elected officials at the recent Trump deal. So, Stu, I reach out to you. I mean, I feel bad for you because emotionally you are where you are. And I don't really understand it. I'd like to understand you better. That to me is you've got a mental issue, and I'd like to talk to you about that. I mean, we could even do that privately if you want to, but I just don't understand where that kind of thinking comes from. Both Jonathan and I get on the show every day. We expose our inner feelings and thoughts on things, but we do it openly. We don't hide our feelings. Unlike there's a group, and I have a card here. We were going to talk about this group. I can't get it to show up. There we go. Um, Ohioans for Responsible Government, which is a group external to Geauga County, and they're putting a ton of money into bogus cards, making all kinds of ridiculous claims. This particular one happens to include me, and the voice of Geauga, which I'm getting really good reaction from. I went into Huntington Bank yesterday, and the tellers were reading the paper. So when I went into Huntington Bank, they said, "Hey, we're reading your paper, Mr. Claypool." It's not my paper, but I am involved with it. But there's a claim here that I'm somehow affiliated with Mr. Tim Grindell. I know Tim. I haven't. I, I don't remember the last time I talked to him, but apparently I'm part of a cabal that involves Tim Grindell. So is Abby King, which is ridiculous. Steve Olowich, who's probably never talked to Tim Grindell, or Joe DeBoth. I don't think they've ever met Tim Grindell. But somehow this group put us all together, trying to create an emotional connection for people because Tim Grindell has been vilified, even though from my personal perspective, and I've known Tim well over the years. I haven't talked to him recently, but when he did a great job in the state house defending Geauga County and Geauga County's rural um, nature and culture and all that kind of stuff, did a fantastic job as a state senator, and I think he's done a really good job as the juvenile court, probate court judge. But he got pretty vilified for political reasons for over the years. But so people have this emotion about Tim Grindell, and so you tie people with him, of course, and they're trying to spread that emotion. But this
Always have an enemy.
this group is a cowardly group that hides behind a PAC and a nonprofit corporation in the state of Ohio. It's outside money outside of Geauga County. Their address, post office box, is in Willoughby. So why are they engaged in Geauga County politics? I believe it's a connection with the cabal that we've got in Geauga County, and since
Hmm.
they're not honest, they're dishonest people who are hiding behind this fake organization and pouring this dark money into our county. If you're a voter out there and you've gotten this card, my guess is you already know what I'm telling you, that this is not an honest group, and so you won't pay attention to them. If you don't know anything about them, they're a dishonest organization out of Willoughby. They got a post office box in Willoughby. And I see we're coming up on a break.
Yeah,
I do
I'll
have
take
one
us out
other
of.
thing, Jonathan, on the other side of the break. I want to talk about the upcoming property tax forum. So I want to make sure we cover that. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got that coming up on Monday. When we come back from the break, we'll talk more about that. But oh boy, we could do a whole show on this soap opera that has come out of this ridiculous, inappropriately named Ohioans for Responsible Government. Join the conversation by dialing in 440-946-9468. Join us on social media. There's a lively chat going on. We'll come back with more on the other side of the break.
Mics are off. Mics are off.
to the, I think our mics are off now, right? To the social media crowd that's listening to, we need your help. We need to up our numbers on Facebook. So we need you to like us, to boost us, to forward us around, and actually to send us stuff we can post, or you can post stuff and send it to us, and we'll post it on our website. I'd like to crank our numbers up so we can monetize the Voice of Geauga Facebook page and the Voice of Geauga website. Um, I was having a conversation last night with an individual who's all about understanding how to monetize various channels. I'm an IT guy. I know how to wire things together and make it work. I'm not as familiar with the business side of things to monetize social media. And there are people out there crazy. It's crazy as it may seem. There's a gal out there that just runs around doing sports kinds of stuff, shooting guns and fishing and that kind of stuff in a bikini. And she makes millions of dollars through monetizing her channels, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's kind of nuts, but we can help to fund what we're doing on the radio and through the Voice of Jog. If we help monetize things, we're just going to crank up our numbers. So that depends on you guys helping us to boost our numbers and get the numbers up on the Facebook page and so forth. So
It continues to climb steadily, so we're making progress. But there's another piece to that. I encourage everybody to share Voice of Geauga social media also because it helps get word out about what's really happening in the world. I've said many times that the papers that we might otherwise rely on in Geauga County are very lackluster, and it bothers me no end that we have people that go into things like the commissioners' meetings, and they do appear to have working functional laptops, and they have cameras or camera-like devices, maybe smartphones. They seem to take pictures of things and sit in commissioners' meetings, but somehow, for years after year after year, seem to keep missing the major issues, like where's the money going, what's happening with the budget, and is there waste, fraud, and abuse? Are there people that are lying and manipulating the public from elected office? All those sorts of things, when I was growing up, that's very, very newsworthy. But if we have a paper that consistently, routinely misses all of that and only seems to post, the ribbon cutting and who's eating the latest stack of pancakes and how much maple syrup do they like to pour in their pancakes and what outfit are they wearing as they're eating pancakes. That's, to me, not doing its job of getting the news out to the community. That's where Voice of Geauga comes in. I was asked last year, I was presented with the opportunity to come on and join this. I've said this many times, and everybody that knows me knows this is my position on it. I did not ever have radio broadcaster on my bingo
30
card
seconds. 30
for
seconds.
life activities. But here I am. I'm concerned. I care enough about Geauga County. I was presented with the opportunity, and I said yes. I said yes because I care and we need to find these things. It only
10
works.
seconds, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga with Skip Claypool and myself, Jonathan Broadbent. During the break, I was talking about the importance of boosting social media. And part of that, I'm going to conclude my thought for our listening audience who tuned in and listened during the break. The more we grow the audience, the more we get the message out about the things that we are uncovering, the guests that we have, and the content that we uncover and share with Geauga and Northeast Ohio. So, like and share. Go and find us on social media, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and there is the intention of also growing X. I know we're going to come back to my comment, have an enemy, and this whole Ohioans for responsible government, and I'm air quoting that. But Skip, I know you had an announcement about Monday.
Yes, and before I do that, tied to the comment about, and by the way, for everybody who listens to us are adults, I believe. We are child friendly, but everybody's listening as an adult, and this program costs money to put on, and so we have to find money and funding for that, sponsors and so forth. Same thing with the newspaper. And I know that a lot of people are enjoying the newspaper because I'm walking around and people tag me and they tell me that. But to continue that, we need to have support. And so we need your help in order to get that support. So somebody just made a suggestion to me that maybe I should get into a Speedo and run around with a rifle, and that might help with our ratings and our following if I post that on Facebook. So I'll do a poll. How many of you want to see me in a Speedo carrying around a gun? Would that help to fund the program? If that's what it takes, we will do what it takes to keep this program on the air so that we can bring value and knowledge and information to you. So just let me know whether that would do the trick or not. Um, I get a chuckle out of that. Thank you, Sharon, for that suggestion. But so on Monday night, May 4th, and this is part of the value of this program, we're going to have a special property tax forum. It's in Middlefield at the Heritage Marketplace. That's on, I forgot the name of the road now, but you can go to our website. You can go to our Facebook
That's on
page.
Nauvoo, right?
Nauvoo Road. Yeah, thank you. I forgot the name of the road. It's on Nauvoo Road. And so we're going to have John Plechnick, John Mara, and Brian Massey, the originator of the whole abolish property tax movement there. You know, if you go to the forums that were put on by the League of Fake Women Voters, I'm trying to think of a good name for them, but the League of Women Voters are supposed to be nonpartisan. They're not. But if you go to those forums, a lot of fear mongering, propaganda, and misinformation that was put out. And if you want to challenge that, anybody from the League of Women Voters, you are more than welcome to come on this program. We'd love to have a discussion, debate with you, or any of the elected officials that disagree with that. But I believe that there was a lot of fear mongering and propaganda and no opportunity for people really to dig and find out the true pros and cons of this whole thing. Let's put a SWOT analysis together and find out the right method, because this property tax or the taxing method is just a method. There's all kinds of ways to tax and collect money. Property tax happens to be one of them. And is that the best one? Well, we're going to talk about that on Monday night, or at least this group is going to talk about it. So John Plechnick, who happens to teach tax law, and he's a professor at the university, and he teaches law, generally speaking, at the university. Very smart guy, very articulate. Is going to be there. He's not part of the team that originated this, but he can talk about it with intelligence. Brian Massey, who started this, John Mara, who's the mayor of Timberlake, and has responsibility to deliver services. So those guys are really immersed in this and can really answer your questions, address both sides of the debate and discussion. And they're going to be there 6:30 on Monday, May 4th at the Heritage Marketplace. So if you want to come and get another set of facts, you know, you've listened to the League of Women Voters view of the world. Come and listen to the group that actually started this movement, and yes, I guarantee you If we get rid of property tax, we'll still have the police, we'll still have fire departments, we're still going to have the townships, schools are going to work fine, and the libraries are still going to be there. So not to worry. Don't get your knickers in a bunch and all that, and come hear how that's going to happen on Monday. And I know there's people that say, "Oh, you got to have a plan." Well, we'll talk about that on Monday night if you come and you listen. So there's room for about 1,000 people. So if you show up, I think we'll be able to fit you in. So with that, that's the announcement on that. And again, I'm getting some laughter at me wearing a Speedo. I'm not sure why that
Yeah,
is.
the comments are pretty uproarious. So obviously, it probably goes without saying, but in this era, I think we have to keep clarifying everything because some leftists out there have broken brains. That was sarcasm and humor, and somebody was jokingly putting Skip up to it. It is not. It has nothing to do with violence or anything of the sort. It actually stemmed from knowledge that there is a woman out there. I'm not aware of it. I've not seen it, but by reference, I think I know who you're talking about. There's a woman who runs around in a bikini doing sports and athletic things and shooting guns, etc. And apparently, she makes a lot of money on social media. That led to the suggestion that maybe Voice of Geauga could do something similar to raise the funds needed in order to maintain this show and this initiative. And that, of course, jokingly turned into the joking recommendation that Skip imitate that in a Speedo. So now everybody's up to speed, and that's where that came from.
So
And
we
it's
could
just
sit here,
humor.
we could sit here naked, and all people could see is us waist up. If that would generate the clicks, do you think that would work, Jonathan? I mean, I know that the people out here, some of these people can't. Stu may not understand the joke. I'm not sure, but I think most people can understand the joke.
I have I have concerns about Stu. There's a growing willingness to engage in just extreme violence among many on the left. And that's by design. People are antagonized through constant vitriolic hyperbole. The propaganda, the amount of propaganda being pumped in, especially in social media, has many people at their wits' end. They feel so exhausted by the endless waves of propaganda. And let's face it, where Trump is concerned, we've had 10 years, 10 solid years. At one point, I saw somebody created a list of all the hoaxes, all of the smear tactics, the smear campaigns. Remember when he allegedly he had these top secret documents and he misreported the value of his properties and P-gate, he apparently peed on a bed in Russia and he grabbed the steering wheel in it's called the Beast, this bulletproof vehicle that moves him around, and he was alleged to have used tear gas to disperse a crowd so that he could go to some church. The ongoing what is it, the E chord on a violin of just that screeching fingernails on a chalkboard of the leftist propaganda. It has some people completely at their wits end, and you can see these videos of people going out like to the beach or into the woods and they're just screaming at the sky because they apparently have lost their minds over listening to so many years of propaganda. And some of those people have lost the ability to step back away from that and ask themselves what's true and what isn't. What are the facts of the circumstance, and can they address life like adults and engage in conversation and use deductive reasoning, to use logic? And I worry about those people. I worry for them. I pray for them. The violence, I believe, is on an upswing, and you can see it in some cities where their brains have gotten broken. They're attacking other people. I just saw another video. We could probably make a whole segment or whole show about this. But there was a woman that went to one of those No Kings rallies, and it's a woman with a man holding a camera, and she's holding a microphone, and she very calmly and politely wanted to ask people for their opinions. And somebody thought that they recognized her from um, a podcast and assumed that she was in opposition to their stance at the No Kings. And that these people, grown men, start punching and hurling her to the ground as if that is reasonable behavior in an enlightened society. They cannot. They Some of those people can no longer engage in conversation. I see we're coming up on a break. I think I'll just run with this for another minute here. But in case you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go. There was another post. Michael Smith. I've posted his stuff and reposted a few times. A few I've grabbed and put into Voice of Geauga on Facebook. He has one on this very topic that really struck a chord. It was exactly what I was thinking when I was thinking it, and it has to do with reason, debate, logic, and I suggest we bring all of that back to K through 12. We need to get back to the point where there's empathy, where people can see things, are willing to accept discussion from other people's viewpoints without getting extremist and violent. That they can engage and, for heaven's sakes, put kids on the opposing side of debates so that it instructs them on empathy. All of that is missing in this current and upcoming generation, and I have dubious concerns about where that leads society. That the people unwilling and unable to simply discuss topics. Speaking of which, we are discussing topics today, including, unfortunately, the prospect of Skip and a Speedo.
People are saying
No
that they
offense.
pay for me not to do the speedo. So all I gotta do is threaten, and so
Oh,
people
there you
send us
go. There's
money not to wear a
fundraising.
speedo. Yeah.
Hey everybody, send your check to Voice of Geauga to so that Skip does not wear a speedo. I'm sorry, Skip. I'm having a little fun at your behalf. I don't mean anything mean by it.
Hey, I
We're gonna
look
come
pretty
back
good in a
with more.
speedo, personally,
We're
but
gonna come back with more on the other side of the break.
Mics are off. Mics are.
All right. Yeah, the state of outrage has no positive ideas or solutions except more spending and bigger government. Yep, that's a great comment. And that really goes back to Skip. When we come back, I want to bring it back to these postcards. The Ohioans for Responsible Government.
that's a
Because
ridiculous organization. We're gonna get to the bottom of who is connected on this thing. So I'm working on that right now, and we know some of the players,
some of
but
the names that we have not mentioned yet, but we have been sleuthing and working very hard on uncovering the people behind it. A few were a little bit surprising, but we have a pretty clear picture at this point of the people who are behind this thing. But I mean, that's what we've got, and I'd like to come back with that. This whole notion of setting Judge Grindel, who's the juvenile court, the probate and juvenile court judge, he does not have some significant massive power base in Geauga County. He's not some sort of evil
30
villain.
seconds. 30 seconds.
And then once you set him up and get people, uh, and I unfortunately there are people that will fall victim to this, that believe that he is some sort of big evil villain from the judicial bench, and then use that to try to
10
disparage.
seconds. 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga with Skip Claypool and myself, Jonathan Broadbent. I'm going to once again bring up our great sponsors of today's program. We've got Red Eft. Call them at 440-850-4968. The Chardon and Middlefield VFW, great opportunity to go in and buy a veteran a beer and sit and talk with a veteran. We've also got the American Legion of both Newberry and Chardon to thank as sponsors of this show. One of the things that I was mentioning during the break Oh, actually, I'm going to interject that one of my plans after the conclusion of this show is to put another poll up. A questionnaire. I'm going to poll our audience on Facebook, Voice of Geauga Facebook. What do you think? Should property taxes be abolished in Ohio? I'm sure that's going to raise a lot of conversation. I'll put it near that post that we've done about Monday's event, and we'll see where the followers of Voice of Geauga
We,
come
we,
out
we
on
need to
the
catch up with
prospect.
the rest of the state, Jonathan, and get the numbers. We're below the other counties in terms of collecting signatures. And
Yeah,
we're not
and
doing our part. And 90% of the people that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people, say, no, let's get rid of property tax. And so I'm going to start
yeah,
carrying a petition with me. I've got some on my table. I should have turned them in. I haven't done that yet. But I'm going to start
well, then
carrying a petition around and getting more signatures.
like Monday. So people have asked on Facebook whether or not there'll be opportunity
There will, yes.
uh, to sign the petition on Monday. And Skip is nodding, and the answer is yes. There will be people there with copies, Geauga specific copies of the petition. Come and sign on Monday. That's on Nauvoo Road. Say the time and location again, Skip.
It's at 6:30 at the Heritage Marketplace, and again, you can see the full ad. There's an address there, but it's on Nauvoo Road in Middlefield.
Okay,
It's there's a bunch of Amish shops and stuff there. They have a little conference center behind that, and the room that we're in can hold about 200 people. They have a larger room if we get a larger turnout that will hold way more than that, probably 500 to 600 people. And
good.
so we can accommodate a lot of people in that location, and we did it in Middlefield specifically because there's a large Amish community there, and they're impacted pretty significantly by this, and we're hoping
Yep.
for a large Amish turnout. So
And if 500 or 600 people show up, that might be 500 or 600 more signatures on the petition. And it's opportunity for those who disagree with it to show up and voice their opinion. Hopefully, they're not showing up with whistles, banging pots and pans together, and shouting into PA systems, which seems to be the current norm of the activist left. Hopefully, they're people that are able to show up and articulately express their concerns and speak like normal, rational adults.
and
But getting,
John Mara says that there's also going to be voter registration forms there. So he just messaged us on Facebook. So
oh, good. Thank you, John Mara. By the way, John Mara, we have noticed that in the announcement for Monday, your name is misspelled. We're working on having that corrected with the graphics team and apologize for the misspelling of your last name. It's John Mara with two R's. So getting to this Ohioans for Responsible Government, this is the group that's pumping in all sorts of propaganda using dark money pools from outside the county to target and attack people inside Geauga County. They're targeting and vilifying the regular, good, patriotic people in Geauga County. I think it's sort of telling that most everybody that I see that they're targeting are Geauga focused, and they're people who get funded and do their own funding from within Geauga. And they're being attacked, and the intention is to replace them with people who get most of their funding, and the flow of money comes from outside Geauga. So these are some dubious agenda here. But there's this postcard, and this gets back to that whole thing of having an enemy. Always have an enemy. So what's happening with Trump, and it happened with all sorts of other people. We had it with General Flynn and all kinds of people during the first Trump administration. All the left, it appears, all they had to do was claim something. Oh, that's a terrible person. It started mostly with racism, the claim of racism. Over and over, it was like a drumbeat. They're racist. You can't possibly interact with them. You can't vote for them. You can't like them. You can't support their initiative or ballot or petition or bill. They're racist. And then it's migrated a few times, and then it became anti-LGBTQ plus or anti-trans or anti-something. It's xenophobic. So the name calling starts. And as soon as people do that, they try to convince you that whatever the issues are, whatever the petition, whatever the candidate, You cannot possibly be on board because it makes you a horrible person if you agree with them. That's why it's done. It's a tactic to tug at your emotions and get people to sacrifice their own self interests and logic and reason in pursuit of knee jerk emotion. And thankfully, all through the Trump era, we had a lot of black conservatives that came out and were like, "What are you talking about racism?" He did the biggest funding of HBCUs, which is historically black colleges and universities. He built these economic growth centers in predominantly black communities to help economic engine. So anyway, that was derailed, and then the left moved on to different narratives and the name calling and attacks. But this group, Ohioans for Responsible Government, is doing very much the same thing. It's the same playbook. They've built up this local county judge, Judge Grandel, who is the judge of, let's face it, it seems to be a really nice guy from what I'm able to gather, but he's the judge of probate and the juvenile court. He's not a big power broker. He's not a huge powers position in the county of Geauga. But this postcard and the position taken by this ridiculous group builds him up as this linchpin mob boss kind of evil villain, in his evil lair, ruling Geauga from his bench, and then from that, piggybacking off of that, they have all these people listed as somehow like Judge Grangel has built this big army of these evil villain actors, and you couldn't possibly want to vote for Abby King or Stephen Olowich. They misspelled his name. Joe DeBoff, and then they even go after Skip Claypool, who's not even a contested race. Probably just because they just don't like him. But this whole notion
Don't you know
is
that
the
I'm running
same
the county,
playbook.
Jonathan? Come on. I'm really
What?
I'm the mob boss.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
right.
manipulating. All these people are my puppets. Everybody's just my puppet. Just I wish everybody would realize what that statement says.
Yeah,
And if you got a
that's
good
right.
laugh out of that, I mean, come on, give me a break. Anybody that thinks that Tim Gunjal can control this county or that any of these people, me, have any impact on this community is, I mean, you got to check their sanity. We've got a mental institutions for a reason. We need to get some of these people some help.
I'm just hoping that it doesn't that the Geauga voters don't fall victim to this stuff. I mean, it's hollow, nonsensical, just jargony baloney. Speaking of which, there is also in the same mailing, at the same time I got this ridiculous crowded postcard that tries to build up Judge Grandel as some sort of evil kingpin or something ridiculous. I did get another postcard from Jim Dvorak. So, just to refresh
Who
everybody,
who
Steve
can't spell
Olowich wrote.
Geauga? Did you notice that he didn't spell
Yeah, I
Geauga
was just going
correctly?
to say Geauga, Geauga. I'm not sure how to say that, but once again, it's another misspelling of Geauga. So, and this whole thing is almost like a comedy show. We're coming up on the conclusion of this show. I hope that you've enjoyed just a sort of a lively kicking around the status of current politics. Don't forget tomorrow, bring some people back, bring questions, bring comments. Come and join us tomorrow as, oh, dare I say it, Nikki Frenchko is going to come on and reveal it all
I think we should
for,
all show up tomorrow in our bikinis.
no,
Yeah, it's revealing it all. Let's just reveal it
we've
all
lost
tomorrow.
we've lost the timer here. It has gone off, but I want to make sure to get off in plenty of time so that the station has an opportunity to do commercials. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a
We
great day. We'll see
we
you
enjoyed
tomorrow.
it.